Article 230.90 of the National Electrical Code, or NEC, states that the overcurrent protective device for a busway shall not exceed the ampacity of the busway. However, Article 230.2e allows the overcurrent protective device for a service conductor to exceed the ampacity of the service conductor based on the 6-switch rule, which permits up to 6 main disconnects in a common enclosure without exceeding the main busway rating. The exception in this case is that the tap is being made after the utility metering section but before the 1200 amp main disconnect for the fire pumps. This means that the tap is not technically part of the main disconnect assembly and is therefore not subject to the requirement to meet or exceed the main disconnect rating. Article 695.8 of the NEC states that the feeder supplying a fire pump shall be capable of carrying 125% of the starting current of the fire pump motor. Therefore, the 200 amp tap in this case would be sufficient to meet the NEC requirement, as long as it is capable of carrying 125% of the starting current of the fire pump motor. Based on the NEC requirements and exceptions, it is permissible for the electrical contractor to tap the switchboard after the utility metering section and before the 1200 amp main disconnect for the fire pumps with a 200 amp circuit. This is because the tap is not part of the main disconnect assembly and the 200 amp tap meets the requirements for supplying a fire pump. To summarize, firstly, understand the NEC requirements related to busway overcurrent protection as outlined in Article 230.90. Secondly, recognize the exception in Article 230.2e regarding the 6-switch rule and its impact on service conductor ampacity. Thirdly, consider the specific situation where the tap is made before the fire pump disconnect, which might exempt it from certain main disconnect requirements. Fourthly, be aware of Article 695.8 which dictates the feeder capacity for fire pumps, requiring 125% of the motor's starting current. Fifthly, confirm that the 200 amp tap is sufficient for the fire pump motor's starting current based on this 125% rule. Sixthly, conclude whether the tap is permissible under the NEC considering its location and the fire pump requirements. Therefore, the key is to verify the fire pump motor's starting current and ensure the 200 amp circuit can handle 125% of it. Also consider the location of the tap relative to the main disconnect and metering sections to determine its compliance with the NEC.